the microphone as evidence last time when my voice was carrying from like way over there while someone was talking. I'm gonna try without it.
All right, do it.
Hello everyone, I'm Nathan, and I'd like to thank all of y'all for joining me on this very colorful journey as we do a relatively deep dive into an up-and-coming color format in CSS that's known as OKLCH. So some time ago, I was on this website, UIcolors.com, trying to find a suitable color scheme to base a current project's theme off of. The client had asked for a soft green as the primary color, and so I derived that using a dropper tool to extract a hexadecimal code. So I plugged that hex code into UIcolors.com and got my palette. And seriously, check out UIColors, it is great for color schemes. I then went to export the necessary color codes to plug into my Tailwind config file, and then I noticed this abomination of a format. What in the absolute heck is that? No, seriously, what is that? So needless to say, I had to drop everything I was doing and hyperfixate on this new color format I'd never heard of before, and or confirm to myself I wasn't having an existential crisis due to not being aware of OKLCH's long and storied existence. Spoiler, it became accepted on all browsers back in September 2023, and it was only proposed to W3C back in 2021. So now that my mental crises have been averted, what even is OKLCH and why does it exist? I mean, we already have so many color formats in CSS, and this just seems like yet another thing I need to know about for some ridiculous and arbitrary reason. I mean, we already have hexadecimal, RGBA, HSLA, HSV, and HWB. So why do we need any more color formats to confuse us with? Well, that exact question was the second portion of my hyperfixation, and I will now deliver the findings to you in a condensed format so that you don't need to waste your time thinking about such things as color theory, and we'll be able to spend time doing other things, such as listening to me at this tech talk. Although before we can dive into why OKLCH exists, we first have to talk about its ancestor, LCH. And LCH stands for lightness, chroma, and hue. And much like the color format HSL, which stands for hue, saturation, and lightness, LCH allows you to configure 3 separate parameters to determine the brightness, and the intensity, and the color. And these 3 parameters are shared both by LCH and HSL to configure these 3 properties. However, there exist 2 key differences that LCH possesses that HSL does not. And those 2 key differences are, 1, a homogeneous brightness perception by a human from any given color on a screen, and 2, LCH isn't bound to any one color space. So what exactly do those 2 previous points mean? To address the first point, it's basically what it sounds like. When you, I, or anyone else that falls under the category of being a human perceives some color on a screen that's from the internet, there exists the possibility that 2 colors with the same brightness value in HSL can be perceived differently due to their intrinsic hue or color value. And Josh Kumo relays this perfectly in a blog post on CSS color formats. And you can tell how the yellow and the blue brightness values from HSL appear to be different even though their lightness values are identical. And that very same lightness value within LCH, the 2 colors appear to be of the same brightness perceptually. And that's what is meant by perception. The incredibly complex anatomy that our eyes have developed over eons to perceive lightness via rods and color via cones, it doesn't exactly work well within the mathematical formula that's found in the HSL format. Wild stuff, right? And to address the previous second point on LCH not being bound to any one color space, essentially all that means is that the color it produces is going to appear identical regardless of what type of screen is displaying it. So let's dive into that. So the majority of today's screens use a color space that's known as sRGB. And sRGB has been the standard for some time now, and for the most part, it served its purpose well. And there also exists another color space that's slowly becoming the new standard, however. And that color space is known as DCI-P3, or simply P3. It has its roots within cinematic displays for defining a color standard for digital movies to be displayed with. And this is all to say that regardless of what type of color space that your screen is using, LCH will produce a perceptually identical color no matter what type of color gamut is being used.
Huh.
And you want to know what's even more mind-blowing about LCH? Because it isn't tied to any one color space, the upper limit of its chroma or saturation value isn't even known. And that ultimately amounts to guaranteed color perception on virtually any screen until we discovered the limit that's intrinsic to LCH. Wild stuff, right? Okay, so now that we've touched on the basics of LCH, why is there a need for this new arcane color format that's known as OKLCH? Well, the main reason is found in a flaw within LCH where blue appears to be more of a purple as you're adjusting the lightness value. And as you can see, LCH starts to turn into a violet hue as you decrease the saturation. And the chroma range for LCH is between 0 and 150, and OKLCH is from 0 to 0.5. I have so much more to say on this topic, but that cannot be discussed within my time frame. So I thank you all for listening, and you can find my entire blog post within these 2 QR codes listed. I thank you all so much for listening, and I thank Cloudflare for hosting spaces such as this. And for the love of all that is holy, please throw your boy a bone if you know of any software engineering jobs that are available. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Nathan?
Should I abandon every other way I've written color instead of CSS and use this one?
That's what I'm deciding to do. I think OKLCH or LCH is the way of the future. That's my bias take. So do with what you will.
I apologize. Is it compatible with browsers? Like, does it have compatibility?
Yes, it was accepted on all browsers back in September 2023.
Wow.
You can also
browsers
accept
accept
like
it.
the transformation back into sRGB.
Can't. Oh, wait, you can't? Is that what you said?
I mean, you're gonna have to like clip into a lower gamut.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Interesting.
That's cool.
More questions?
Is it supported by Internet Explorer?
Internet Explorer is officially dead. We don't have to worry about it. It died.
You know, there's maybe like a third party something that really wants OKLCH on Internet Explorer, so maybe, you know. I wouldn't rule it out.
With Tailwind, if you just change like the Tailwind file, it just works out of it?
Yeah, so basically all you would have to do is just like copy and paste all of that. And I think Tailwind has like inherent support for OKLCH, so it works great with it.
Everybody give Nathan another hand of applause.